If you have a questioning nature and a desire to nourish your essence within you have reached the realm of truth, live from inner space, it's the next sequel to Interactive Enlightenment, brought to you by your host, Seven Bomar. Enjoy non-stop breakthroughs, advanced knowledge, and self-discovery to the core of your very essence. Join us as we map the blueprint to the cosmos and resolve the mysteries of the Matrix. You are now connected to the Keymaker.
Is what I'm saying. The world's going to get smaller. Instead of there being so much disconnection between everybody, look on what the Georgia Guidestones are really saying in there. Beside the depopulation part, what they're actually talking about is one living language being restored back to their group that they after the depopulation, which is not going to happen. Again, one of the most important things was in the prophecy of the Kaliyuga, which was predicted by Krishna, which was a real Siddha, somebody that actually was really here. And this is why you can see that the Christ myth came after that, because before Krishna rose into the next stage of his own nirvana as a king, he predicted a 5,000-year Kali Yuga because Sanktamuni and a few other kings were coming into power and they were already greedy. So it's a simple prediction to know that, hey, this is all, when I leave and I gotta go, it's going to all fall apart. Because remember, people depended on many of these kings. They're their fathers. So you had good fathers, good mothers, bad parents. So the reality is that there were prophecies that were made that for 5,000 years. And this is what the Mayans based their calendar on. For the next 5,000 to 6,000 years, there would be a Kali Yuga, or a dark stage where there would be ignorance that sweeps over the land. And then after that period, which is the Mayans only felt it imperative to make a calendar up until that point, as if they knew themselves. And we did cross over that in 2012, that after 2012, give or take a few years, not a few thousand years, then there was going to be a massive enlightenment for humanity to understand their connection. The only work that the secret societies have done is they went in creating Christianity and in creating Islam and taking everybody off the original versions of that were central to themselves. The only thing that they did was they moved the timeline. So instead of it saying, oh yeah, in 5,000 years, that's how long it takes for another soul to incarnate and souls to begin to incarnate that don't want to do that. It gets burned out and they move on to the next phase. So what they did was they kind of erased the 5,000 years and put 26,000. This is akin to what actually is going on. And then in changing those prophecies, have people believe that either one, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen in their lifetime, or it's going to happen so far out that they don't even need to be thinking about this stuff at all. But the truth is, because this is a hyperdimensional plane that actually doesn't work on time, when you become aware of this, and then you make the efforts to not only change yourself, which is changing the world, that's when things change for you. Until then, you slide through these realities, kind of like remote controlling it, never actually really present, experiencing all of the what they call the samsara, because that's what happens when you don't know what you're doing. And then finally you start coming from the darkness, and the next color then is blue, into that next phase to where you start seeing the light and things start becoming very clear. And that's what maturity is. Because of course, there's people that were on this line right now, and you can see they had like an extensive case of ADHD. Nothing wrong with it, but you got to do something with that. Being patient and just really listening to what's really being said versus just thinking about, well, what do you want to hear? And what do you want now? And then moving on around, trying to chat with people. And then that way of being, that's when the force is wild. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything right or wrong with this. I'm just getting you to see, well, that's why that's called Kali. That's why she's wild. Like, she'll even want to punish people because they say the Kali's an avenger, but she punishes unrelentlessly. So even kings that, they get into this stage of, oh, I'm God's chosen. This was the Germanic King Gud's issue, or where that ideology actually came from, which later on they became Sumerians once they left this area. But where that ideology comes from is that they didn't actually see that anybody else had survived, because they were on their boat, because everyone was seafaring, then they were on their boat and they had rowed off and they thought everybody had perished. So with that same idea, they began to believe that they were also the chosen ones of God, since they were the ones that were the only ones that survived. So even their notion of who they were came from something that wasn't even true. And so we have people here today in our world that believe that they are the chosen ones of God, and it's only them that should be inheriting spiritual abilities, and only they, because of birthright, are born higher than everyone else. And these people, or these kings and these beings, are also in the place of the banking systems and much of the structure of the reality. So as conscious people, if we ever expect something to change for our children, if we ever expect something to change for us, that means we would have to build it. And to be honest, like the same mindset of this particular king, which was very brutal to its people, was actually the same mindset that individuals such as Rockefeller had, or in this case, Rothschild had towards his children. Like if you read the story about Rothschild and his children, like he made them call him master. He never treated them like they were children. He abused them, etc. And he raised them in this same mindset to do that same thing to other people, right? So this is also a word to the wise. Not everybody thinks like you. And this is why Secret Energy and AstroQuest, the rest of the factions, are geared in certain ways, because we have already been in the stage of maturity of realizing that just because we want to see humanity connected, we want to open up the chasm between life and death to get our loved ones that we think are gone back into the stage of the realization and awareness of themselves while they're in the death membrane, right? So we want to pull them out of there. So we got work to do. So the last thing that we really want then is someone coming along, or some culture coming along, or some religions coming along, or whatever it may be, some king or whatever that breathes the same air, made of the same particle as us, telling us that we cannot do it. And if for some reason, and this is the disclaimer in this, if for some reason, and this is where you can strengthen your will, if the world chooses to do something else, or others want to do a different thing, where you have to be at to see your own graduation is knowing the value of what this would mean for you to accomplish. Not everybody else, but just you. If you achieve this, because it's here for you. I can't say how available it was 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago, how available it will be in the future. The only thing we actually have is this moment and each other. And so our networks actually are designed that if anything goes on, we all know about it. Like if something happens, not saying the fear mongering and all this, or energy vampiring, but I'm talking about if something really happens, our networks are the most robust in communication and letting everybody know, here's what we're experiencing over here. We need to prepare this.